Jaya Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Jayo Giri Varadhari Jayo Giri Varadhari Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Jayo Giri Varadhari Jayo Giri Varadhari Shodanandana Bhraja Jana Ranjana Shodanandana Bhraja Jana Ranjana Munatira Vanachari Munatira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Jayo Giri Varadhari Jayo Giri Varadhari Shodanandana Bhraja Jana Ranjana Shodanandana Bhraja Jana Ranjana Munatira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Radha Madhava Ashtasaki Sri Mahaprabhu ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Panchatattva ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Shloka 17. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Can somebody just please turn on this fan? Thank you. Loko vikarma-nirataḥ kuśale pramattaḥ. Loko vikarma-nirataḥ kuśale pramattaḥ. Karmaṇy ayaṁ tvad-udite bhavad-arcane sve. Tāvad asya balavān jīvita-āśām. Sadyaś chinatty animiṣāya namo tasmai. Loko vikarma-nirataḥ kuśale pramattaḥ. karmaṇy ayaṁ tvad-udite bhavad-arcane sve. Tāvad asya balavān jīvita-āśām. Sadyaś chinatty animiṣāya namo tasmai. Please chant. Jīvitāśāṁ. Pramattaḥ. Mataji. word by word. Loka, people in general. Vikarma, work without sense. Nirataḥ, engage in. Kuśale, in beneficial activity. Pramattaḥ, negligent. Karmaṇy, inactivity. Ayam, this. Tvat, by you. Udite, enunciated. Bhavat, of you. Arcane, in worship. Swe, their own. Ya, who. Tāvad, as long as. Asya, of the people in general. Balavān, very strong. Iha, this. Jīvita-āśām, struggle for existence. Sadyaḥ, directly. Chinatti, is cut to pieces. Animiṣāya, by the eternal time. Namo, my obeisances. Astu, let there be. Tasmai, unto him. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. People in general all engage in foolish acts, not in the really beneficial activities enunciated directly by you for their guidance. As long as their tendency for foolish work remains powerful, all their plans in the struggle for existence will be cut to pieces. I therefore offer my obeisances unto Him who acts as eternal time. This is Lord Brahma speaking. Purport. People in general are all engaged in senseless work. They are systematically unmindful of the real beneficial work, which is the devotional service of the Lord, technically called the Archana regulations. The Archana regulations are directly instructed by the Lord in the Narada Pancharatra and are strictly followed by the intelligent man who know well that the highest perfectional goal of life is to reach Lord Vishnu, who is the root of the tree called the cosmic manifestation. Also, in the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, such relative activities are clearly mentioned. Foolish people do not know that their self-interest is in realization of Vishnu. The Bhagavatam 7.5:30-32 says, Matirna Krishne paratasvatto va mitto vipadyata griha vratanam adhanta gobir vishatham tamishram puna punar charvita charvanhanam nate vidu svarta gatim he vishnum durashaya ye bahir arthamanina andayathandhair upanyamhanas tepi shrutantyam urudham nibhadaha naishamatis tāvad urukramangrim sprishat yanartha pagamo yadhartha mahiyasham padarajyo abhishekam nishkinchananam navarnitayavat. Persons who are determined to totally rot in false material happiness cannot become Krishna-minded, either by instructions from teachers, by self-realization, or by parliamentary discussions. They are dragged by the unbridled senses into the darkest region of ignorance, and thus they madly engage in what is called chewing the chewed. Because of their foolish activities, they are unaware that the ultimate goal of life is to achieve Vishnu, the Lord of the cosmic manifestation, and so their struggle for existence is in the wrong direction of material civilization, which is under the external energy. They are led by similar foolish persons, just as one blind man is led by another blind man, and both fall in the ditch. Such foolish men cannot be attracted towards the activity of the Supreme Powerful, who is actually the neutralizing measure for their foolish activities, unless and until they have the good sense to be guided by the great souls who are completely freed from material attachment. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord asks everyone to give up all other occupational duties and absolutely engage in archana activities or in pleasing the Lord. But almost no one is attracted to such archana activity. Everyone is more or less attracted by activities which are conditions of rebellion against the Supreme Lord. The system of jnana and yoga are also indirectly rebellious acts against the Lord. There is no auspicious activity except archana of the Lord. Jnana and yoga are sometimes accepted within the purview of archana when the ultimate aim is Vishnu and not otherwise. The conclusion is that only the devotees of the Lord are bona fide human beings eligible for salvation. Others are vainly struggling for existence without any actual benefit. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta-pada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vittamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gorat Vishe Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Ghora Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are listening the prayers of Lord Brahma. So having spoken previously of the Lord as the universal form, Lord Brahma, he now offers respects to the Lord as the form of the time which controls the universe. And in this loka, he is saying that people who are inattentive, who are negligent, pramattaḥ, to the auspicious action, which is archana or worship of the Lord, they are just lost. They don't consider what is important. They're foolish persons and engage in foolish activities. So what is important to this type of people, which consists 99.9% of this world? What kind of activities are important to them? The activities that will bring some result, substantial result to satisfy their senses. Something concrete. Not many are inclined, or nobody is inclined to work without any material reward. How many volunteers in any organization you find? Even for that, they get something, at least some, prestige. But everybody wants to get something for their work. So there are different types of work that satisfy different sort of desires. The work mentioned here in the verse is vikarma. And Prabhupada translates this as nonsensical activities, foolish activities. And we also know that vikarma means work that is against dharma, against shastra, that is sinful activity. Karma is dharmic and vikarma is adharmic. So why vikarma is foolish? Because it leads to immediate sense pleasure, but it leads to suffering in the near future, in this life or in the next. You do something sinful, you kill an animal, you eat a meat, and you satisfy your belly and tongue at the moment. But then what happens in next life? You have also to be killed and suffer. So vikarma brings all sorts of bad results, like disease, shortening lifespan, degradation in the next life, hellish life, if it's very severe, or degradation to animal life, or some disadvantageous position in the human life. Somebody is born as invalid or sick or in a very unfavorable circumstances. So these are the results of vikarma, foolish, nonsensical activities, which should be strictly avoided by those who want their own benefit. And then we have another type of activities called karma. These activities that are approved by Shastra, by scriptures. In other words, these are pious activities, like charity, helping others, digging wells, planting trees, building roads, and all sorts of other material welfare activities. Also karmakanda sacrifices and yagyas prescribed in the Vedas. So what are the results of these activities that according to Shastra? It's better birth, either in this earth planet or birth in Svarga, in the heavenly planets. So basically you get more facilities for sense enjoyment because you acted according to rules and regulations of Shastra. So we might be promoted to the Svarga heavenly planet or some other heavenly realm on the Bhumandala. But what happens there? This is what Lord Krishna is describing in 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Tre vidya mam soma pa putra papa yagere ištva svargatim prarthayante te punyam asadya surendra lokam ashnanti divyam divideva bhogan. Those who study the Vedas and drink the soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planets of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. So in Svarga, you're intoxicated by drinking somarasa, enjoying the company of apsaras and all sorts of heavenly enjoyments that we cannot even imagine. They're there. But unfortunately, it doesn't last very long. It comparatively to the human span of life, it lasts long, 10,000 and hundreds of thousands of years. But again, in eternal time, this is just a drop. So sooner or later, it's finished. That's why te tam bhuktva svarga loka vishalam kshine punya martya loka vishanti evam trai dharmam anuprapanna gatha gatam kama labante. So when they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. So you're back where you started from. So thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. So if you are a strict follower of the Vedas, of karma kanda, the only result actually you get that you take birth again and again. It might be in a good position, but you don't get any substantial long-term result. So that's why seeking material enjoyment in this world, either through karma or vikarma, is something that is nonsensical or foolish, as Prabhupada mentions in this verse. In Upakhana Upadesha of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he gives very short instructive story. Once on the bank of river, some herons, these are the birds with the long legs, that live next to the rivers. So these herons, they were sitting and waiting for some fish, But it's, it's not always that the fish comes by, so you have to be very patient and wait. But at that time, when they were sitting and waiting for the fish, these herons, they noticed few bulls, big bulls, crossing the river. And then, being foolish birds, thinking that bulls' long testicles were safari fish, the herons began to think, oh, if their testicles would fall off, we could eat them. They thought this is the fish. So instead of waiting here uselessly on the bank of this river for fish, we should run after those bulls. And they did exactly, they start going after the bulls and trying to touch these bulls' testicles with their beaks. But repeatedly they were struck by the bull's kicks. Still, being foolish, they just continued and continued going after the bulls. So this is the position of sense enjoyers in this world. They chase fata morgana, they chase something that is not really attainable. Another analogy is given is the carrot on a stick. You just go after something, but you never really get it. So this is how Maya is enchanting to the cognition souls, see how it tricks them. This is about searching sense gratification. But then there are few rare persons in this world who seek mukti, who seek liberation through processes like jnana and yoga. So they want to get out of this world. They are sick with the enjoyment and suffering. So they want to get out. But still, through these processes of jnana and yoga, again they're pursuing their own interest, which is selfish interest. I know I'm sick of suffering, I want to get out. So I want something for myself. I want to relax and live in peace. So even these pursuits of jnana and yoga, they again lead to frustration, as Prabhupada mentions, unless the goal is Vishnu, unless they are connected to Vishnu. Then they can lead to liberation. So in this way, the Lord, in the form of time, He quickly kills aspirations for life of those who are not His devotees. And all their desires, whether they are for kama, artha, or moksha, they become frustrated. Still, our modern civilization and the modern day education, they're teaching us from the very childhood to run madly after these selfish goals of sense gratification. Once you're in the school, you're immediately forced, to compete with others, to get better grades, to get entrance into the best college, to get the best degree, and then to get a good job which will give you a lot of money, and then you can enjoy yourself. So everybody is, from the very childhood, they are competing for more and more sense gratification. So basically we are getting, in the modern day civilization, we are getting training in karma, in lust. We have been taught the science of lust, the science of selfish activities that are not in our real interest. So our real interest lies not in lust, but of course lies in love, in divine love or prema. So that this divine love is based on completely different principles from lust, on completely different principles from material activities. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj, he says that lust and love have different characteristics. Just as iron and gold have completely different natures. They're both metals, and from the distance they might look the same, but they have completely different natures. Gold is gold, iron is iron. And then he says, Atmendriya priti vancha tare bholi kam, Krishnendriya priti icha dhare premanam. The desire to gratify one's own senses is called kama or lust. But the desire to please the senses of the Lord is prema or love. So all the regulative principles in the Vedas pertaining to desires, Srila Prabhupada comments, I just want to quote quickly, he comments very nicely here on this shloka in Chinatty. He says, all the regulative principles in the Vedas pertaining to desires for popularity, fatherhood, wealth, and so on are different phases of sense gratification. So these are regulative principles of the Vedas. They are, different phases of sense gratification. Acts of sense gratification may be performed under the cover of public welfare, nationalism, religion, altruism, ethical codes, biblical codes, health directives, fruitive action, bashfulness, tolerance, personal comfort, liberation from material bondage, progress, family affection, or fear of social ostracism or legal punishment. But all these categories are different subdivisions of one substance, sense gratification. So even religion, even liberation, they're all just different subdivisions of sense gratification. So Prabhupada continues, all such good acts are performed basically for one's own sense gratification. So whatever you do for your own sense gratification, even if outwardly appears very nice, pious and religious and devotional, it's just sense gratification, disguised as something else. So all such good acts are performed basically for one's sense gratification, for one can sacrifice his personal interests while discharging these much advertised moral and religious principles. But above all is a transcendental stage in which one feels himself to be only an eternal servitor of Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead. All acts performed in this sense of servitude are called pure love of God because they are performed for the absolute sense gratification of Sri Krishna. However, any act performed for the purpose of enjoying its fruits or results is an act of sense gratification. Such actions are visible sometimes in the gross and sometimes in the subtle forms. So again, I repeat, even if we perform religious activities like pujas and yagyas, chanting of mantras and so on and so forth, if we do it for the purpose of enjoying its fruits, that is the act of sense gratification. So thus our consciousness, our motivation will determine what the act we are performing is. So we may be dressed in a dhoti or sari and externally perform some activities that look like devotional service, and in this way we may cheat others. But if our consciousness and motivation is wrong, we cannot really please the Lord. So the consciousness and motivation has to be to please Krishna. So the dharma that does not have that goal, that purpose, is called kaitava dharma, cheating activities, selfish activities in the guise of religiosity and bhakti, and they can never bring us to the real goal of life. So this kaitava dharma is also being widely taught in material world. Good example of teachers who are teaching this kaitava dharma and the science of self-gratification in the scriptures. Do you remember any good example? Shukracharya, and not only him, but his sons, Sanda and Amharka. They were such teachers. They were taught Prahlad Maharaj, trying very hard to teach him, economics and other materialistic subjects, but Prahlad somehow didn't like it. But repeatedly on the Hiranyakashipu's urge, they tried. And similarly, Shukracharya had one famous disciple. Who was it? Bali Maharaj, yeah, Bali Maharaj. So Shukracharya was so expert that he was guiding him on the quest to conquer the whole universe. And Bali Maharaj, he conquered the whole universe. The demigods had to go from the heavenly planets because Shukracharya was, such an expert guide in material activities. So demigods, they were in difficult positions. So headed by Lord Brahma, they had to pray, take shelter of the Lord and pray to him for Lord to appear and save the situation. And then today, on today's day or Tithi, called Shravana Dvadashi, the Lord Vamanadev appeared to satisfy the desires of the demigods. So Jayadeva Goswami, he sings, Chalayasi vikramane bhalim adbhutta vamana padanakkanira janita jana bhavana keshava drita vamana rupa jai jagadesha hare. O Keshava, Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a dwarf Brahmana, all glories to you. O wonderful dwarf, by your massive steps you deceive King Bali, and by the Ganges water that has emanated from the nails of your lotus feet, you deliver all living beings within this world. So the Lord Vamanadev appeared today at the noon when the Abhijit Nakshatra had risen. At that time, all the three worlds, all the demigods, the cows, the brahmanas, everybody became very much happy. So he appeared as the son, if you remember, on the heavenly planet, the son of Kashyapa and Aditi. And both of them, when they saw him, they were completely astonished. First the Lord appeared with the four hands, with the Shankha, Chakra, Gada and Padma. But then, because it's not appropriate to have a child with the four hands, he transformed himself in a small dwarf or Vamana. At that time, all the great sages, they expressed their happiness and jubilation. And together with the Kashyapa Muni, these sages, they performed the Janma, birthday ceremony of Lord Vamana. And then they had also sacred thread ceremony. And then different demigods, Sangad, Brihaspati, Bhumi Devi, Aditi, Mother, Lord Brahma, Kuvera, seven rishis, they all presented him different presents, different gifts. And then Lord Vamanadev decided to do what? He decided to visit the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaj that happened to be on the northern side of Narmada River in the field known as Bhrigukacha, where the Brahmanas of the Bhrigu dynasty, they were performing sacrifices. So Lord Vamanadev, he was wearing a belt made of munja straw, some special sort of straw. Upper garment was of deer skin, and he had a sacred thread, and in his hands he had a danda, umbrella, and kamandalo, water pot. So he appeared in the sacrificial arena of Bali, and everybody all of a sudden noticed some huge effulgence emanating from him. It's described that by his appearance he diminished, the position of everybody who was present there, and they thought maybe sun god came. So everybody very respectfully stood up and offered prayers to Lord Vamanadev. And Bali Maharaj, he was very pleased to see Lord Vamanadev, so he immediately bowed down, offered dandavats together with his family members, and then he did padabhishekam, he washed the lotus feet of the Lord, gave him a seat and glorified him. And then he inquired from Lord Vamanadev what he can do for you. He requested him to ask for anything, money, jewels, land, anything he can give, because he was the master of the whole universe. He conquered the whole universe. And then, as we know, Lord Vamanadev was very, very modest. He said, just give me 3 steps. I don't need anything more, just 3 steps. But then Bali, he was saying, do you know I'm paraphrasing, do you know who I am? I'm the master of 3 worlds, and you're asking only for 3 steps. You are inexperienced young boy, so you don't know what is for your real benefit. When you approach such a big person as myself, you should not go with such a small gift. You should take something big. So he wanted him to ask for more. But then the Lord said, he said, "Oh my dear king, even the entirety of whatever there may be within the 3 worlds to satisfy one's senses cannot satisfy a person whose senses are uncontrolled." So he was saying, even if you give me everything that you have, if my senses are not controlled, it will not satisfy me. So if I were not satisfied with the 3 bases, 3 steps of land, then surely I would not be satisfied even with possessing one of the 7 islands consisting of 9 varishas. Even then, I would hope to get more and more. So we see this in practical experience that the rich people in these worlds, they have never enough. Even if they're billionaires, even if they have hundreds of billions of dollars, still they want to make more and more. So crorepati's, you think, oh, they're happy, they're satisfied, they're content. No, they want more and more. Then it's like a fire that is burning within their hearts, fire of greed and lust. They want more and more. So getting more and more is not the way to become happy. So Lord Vamadeva says, one should be satisfied with whatever he achieves by his previous destiny. For this content can never bring happiness. A person who is not self-controlled will not be happy even with possessing of 3 worlds. So more we want to have to satisfy our desires, more unhappy we will be. There is some statistics that we're doing the research, which countries are the most happiest countries in the world. So can you guess what was on the top, the most happiest country? Yes. Finland? No. It was, I think, Bangladesh. and then some other poor countries, and then maybe some Scandinavian countries. But the countries like Germany, like America, Canada, Australia, they were at the bottom of the list. How is it possible? People there, they have very good economic standards and a lot of money, you can say. But still, subjectively, they did not feel happy. So when they interviewed them, they said, no, we are not happy, we are not happy. And then some poor beggars on the streets of Dhaka in Bangladesh, they said, well, I have my rickshaw, I have a food to eat, I have a roof, so I'm happy. What is the problem? So the amount of wealth is not what determines the happiness we have. So we should thus stop trying to be happy by getting more and more, not only in terms of money and wealth, but also, position, name, fame, everything that is valuable in this world, thinking that these things will make us happy. So if we have lust and love on 2 opposite extremes, what is in between, exactly in between, is called self-contentment, So it's you are happy with what you have, and more you go to the left, more you want to be happy, you are going more and more towards the lust and unhappiness. And then from this position of self-contentment, it's possible to successfully engage in devotional service with intention of giving pleasure to Krishna. Engaging in sense gratification means I intend to give pleasure to myself. But love means I want to give pleasure to Krishna. So it's almost paradoxical. More we try to be happy on our own, more we strive for happiness and satisfaction, less happy we are, and more frustrated. And vice versa. more we try to selflessly give pleasure to the Lord, to satisfy His transcendental senses, more happy and fulfilled we will be. Although we do not want that, but we become. So that's bhakti. Devotional service is defined as hrishikena, hrishikesha hrishikena sevanam bhaktir uchate. It means that serving the master of the senses with our own senses. Once I think some disciples asked Srila Prabhupada, what will make you the most happy? And they expected Prabhupada will say, oh, if you distribute many books, if you build big temples. But Prabhupada said, no, if you love Krishna, I'll be the most pleased, if you love Krishna. So this is the ideal of pure love and self-surrender. And here we have Bali Maharaj who sacrificed everything. He sacrificed all his possessions for the pleasure of the Lord. And thus he became glorified. He even sacrificed violating the order of his Guru Shukracharya and being cursed by him. He gave it up without consideration in order to please the Lord Vamana. And thus he became glorified as one of the Mahajans. So this ideal of pure love that is completely devoid of selfish interest is found in its pure form only in where? In Vrindavan. It's Vraj Prema, Vraj Bhakti. Because even in Vaikuntha, the Vaikuntha Vasis, they're certainly very pure and exalted, but still there is a tinge of self-interest there, you know. Even in these 4 types of Vaishnava liberation, when you want to have the same form as the Lord, same opulence as the Lord, same powers of the Lord, still you want something for yourself. So that Vaikuntha Prema, love that is found outside of Vrindavan, is not that pure as the love that is found in Vrindavan. Love of the Vrajavasis is without any tinge of anything selfish. Vrajavasis and the Gopis, as the highest of the Vrajavasis, they don't want anything for their own pleasure. It's extreme example, for example, of the Gopis or Yagyapatis, the wives of the Brahmanas who left their homes, who sacrificed, you know, their reputation, everything. They left their husband, they left their babies. Basically, they were socially dead. They exposed themselves to social death by going to Krishna. But still, for the Krishna's pleasure, they offered everything to the Lord. And even the Lord himself, he confirms that. He says, for example, to the Gopis, he says, na pareham niravadya samyujham swasadu krityam vibhudaya shapiva yamaha bhajan durjarageha shrinkhala samvrishya tadva pratyahatu sadhuna. He says, I'm not able to repay my debt for your spotless service even within a lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties, which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be beyond compensation. So the Lord doesn't know how to return their pure love. He just remains eternally indebted to them. So if we want to make really Krishna happy and give pleasure to him, what should we do? We should follow in the footsteps of Vrajavasis, those who have this pure type of selfless love, which is the highest goal of life. And how should we do this? Srila Rupa Goswami, he gives us instruction in Upadeshamrita. He says, Tanama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasini Yojya Tishtam Vrajitad Anuragi Jananugami Kalam Nayed Akilam Ityupadesha Saram. So the essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and the mind. In this way, one should reside in Vraja and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. So this is the way how to attain that pure love, and by following in the footsteps of the Vrajavasis. So this is our goal, our ideal, that we become completely selfless and do everything for Krishna's pleasure and stop selfish activities that everybody is engaged in this world. So I'll stop here if you have any comments or questions. Yes, Prabhu. Just wait for a mic.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhuji, I can agree with Bangladesh being the happiest country from spiritual point of view, like simple way of living. But I have searched it here in Google that most happiest country in the world. So Finland is being marked as the happiest country for 7 consecutive years.
Yeah, possibly there are different, studies, different interviews. Finland might be also at one point. People, they do the surveys. They give questionnaires to people and tell them, mark how much happy you are on the level from 1 to 10. So at that particular point, when they did this research, maybe people in Finland, they said, yeah, we are the happiest because they have good social welfare. There's not much crowd on the street, this and that. But nowadays, these situations are changing because there are a lot of immigrants pouring now in the Western countries, from African countries, from here, from there, and they're causing chaos and havoc. And people there are also becoming unhappy. And there are other reasons. But again, this is just speaking about material happiness. Material happiness. But why America, for example, is never on this list? Why people are so much frustrated in such countries? If you also check the suicide rate, where the suicide rate is the highest, you will get all these advanced, progressive Western countries like America and countries in Europe. So if they are so much happy, why they are killing themselves? So many people are killing themselves. You don't find so many people killing themselves in India or Bangladesh or in Africa. No, they just live their life, but they're not going to jump off. Not so many. So this is just to illustrate that amount of wealth does not correlate the happiness that people subjectively feel, which is just a material happiness. And of course, spiritual happiness, who is spiritually happy? Only devotees, pure devotees in this world are spiritually happy. So then you cannot divide it by country. Wherever devotee is, whether he is in Bangladesh or America or here and there, if he is fully engaged in the service of Lord, he is truly the most happy and satisfied person. He doesn't depend on material circumstances. But my point was that we should be self-content with whatever we have. Otherwise, if we aspire for more and more materially, this is not going to make us happy. So whatever Krishna has given us, we should accept that without saying, oh Krishna, why they have more? Why they are like this? Why they are like that? And I don't have this. This is not the path which will help us. It's not healthy for your spiritual life. So we should accept, okay, Krishna has given me this, and this should be enough for me, and let me now try to engage that in his service. And this is the true way how to become happy, by engaging whatever little Krishna has given us in his service. Instead of trying to get more and more, thinking once I have 100 crores, then I'll give for Krishna, I'll build a temple or this or that. No, even if you have just 1 lakh, you don't need to give a huge donation, but offer him patram pushpam palantoyam or something. He wants your love, not your wealth. So this was the point. Okay, yes, Prabhu.
I wanted to add to this, this criteria of being the happiest, these factors with which they decide that happiness. They say there is good roads, good facility. That is why this is the happiest place to live. But when we ask the people over there, are you happy? They cannot reply. And when you go to Bangladesh or poorer countries, and when we ask the people over there, are you happy? They say, yes, I'm satisfied, I'm happy. So that is where the
Yes,
things come.
yes.
We put the imposition that they are happy, but they are actually...
Thank you. Yeah. It's a subjective feeling, how much you feel that you are happy. You have to ask the people. Otherwise, if you just judge by roads and facilities, yeah, no, of course, then the most modern countries will be the most happy. But actually, people are not happy there. They feel empty. I mean, I live in some of these countries, and I could feel there's a lot of frustration. People have everything materially, but still inside, they feel so empty. And many are just in depression, and some kill themselves. So it's a very high suicide rate in these places. Just to illustrate that all this material opulence cannot satisfy the soul.
I have a question.
Yes.
You have said very interesting point that how this society is teaching calm-based activities. You know, so in the future generations which are coming, how do we live in this system of calm-based, and how do we safeguard them from this? How do we develop to safeguard the future generation from this type of society which is developing? Because I have seen if you're not a devotee family also, you know, the children, they get misdirected. So how do we safeguard like the future generations or ourselves also?
Yes, somehow or other we have to protect our children especially, because if you leave them on the mercy of modern education systems, the lives they'll be completely spoiled. It's like, you know, putting them through the meat grinder. They'll be destroyed. But it's also very difficult because we don't really have any social economic structures where devotees can be independent and not depend on the modern society. So that's why Prabhupada 50 years ago, he stressed so much varnashrama dharma and self-sufficient communities where people can, you know, have a small piece of land and a cow and grow some vegetables and grains and live happily. But somehow we are not really much doing that. But that would be the direction, to be less and less dependent on a modern society and a modern economic and social system, because sooner or later it is going to collapse and crash, and then everything will be finished. And then if we are not prepared, we'll be in trouble. So that's why also we want to put our children in as much as possible in devotee schools, at least to some grade. Otherwise, especially in the West, if you put them in a public schools, now there are some new laws that are being passed there that if the child somehow hears that it's a boy, but somebody tells him, no, you're not a boy, you might be a girl, then the child has a right to request for gender surgery and puberty blockers, and parents, in Canada for example, if they say, no, you cannot do this, you're just a small child. If parents say this, the social service will come and take away the child and put it in their care and do whatever the child wants. And then, of course, after a few years, the child will be very sorry, but it's too late. So this is the direction where the modern Western society is going, and it's very dangerous. And then there are some families who are basically escaping from these societies and going to migrating to countries where these laws have not been yet passed. I just watched one interview with one American family who immigrated to Russia. Can you imagine? Because they say in Russia they still preserve traditional family values, and this will not be allowed. So we had to save our children. Although they don't know Russian, they don't know anything about Russia, somehow they said we had to emigrate. So hopefully we'll have our own, as devotees, place, sanctuary where Maple Dam is a good opportunity. At least we have some devotee schools here, and like that. Okay, anybody else? Thank you all very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.